Max Verstappen didn't just win his first world title, he hijacked Formula One's entire timeline in one night, and the sport has never fully recovered from it. Because 2021 wasn't a championship, it was a war. A year where two drivers broke each other mentally, where teams turned into political machines, and where the final lap didn't just decide a winner, it created a new era. And here's the part most people still don't understand. Max didn't get lucky in Abu Dhabi. He survived a season designed to break him, and then used the one moment the sport gave him to change history forever. Before we even go further, remember this: heading into the final race of 2021, Verstappen and Hamilton were tied on points. That's not close, that's legendary pressure. In 71 years of F1 at that time, you almost never get a title decider like that. Now here's the curiosity gap. If the season was truly even, why did the ending feel like the world collapsed in real time? And why are we still arguing about it years later? Because Max's first title wasn't just a win. It was the moment F1's rules, power and politics collided at 300 km/h. Let's rewind to what 2021 really was. This wasn't just Hamilton versus Verstappen, it was Mercedes versus Red Bull, perfection versus chaos, the old empire versus the new predator. Mercedes entered 2021 trying to extend the most dominant run modern F1 has ever seen. Hamilton was chasing an 8th title, and Red Bull had one mission: end the dynasty before it became permanent. And Max wasn't trying to impress the world, he was trying to break the system that kept beating him. That's why this season felt different. You could feel it. Every weekend was tension. Every radio message had fear hiding behind it. Every press conference was code for, we're not just racing, we're fighting. And the scary thing is, Max was ready for that fight from day one. Here's what nobody talks about. Max's title wasn't won in Abu Dhabi. It was built across the whole year, through moments where most drivers would have blinked. Think about the psychological pressure alone. If you're fighting Lewis Hamilton in the final era of Mercedes dominance, you don't just need speed. You need to become allergic to doubt. Max became that. He was aggressive, yes, but it wasn't reckless aggression. It was calculated force, the type of driving that makes rivals hesitate. And in Formula One, hesitation is death. Now, quick pattern interrupt. If you've ever seen Max's onboard and thought, bro, that's not a racing line, that's a threat, congrats, you understand the entire season. Because 2021 was basically Max saying, if you want this title, you're going to have to take it from me with violence. And Hamilton didn't flinch either. Which brings us to the part that made 2021 feel like a movie. Because by the time we reached the final race, it wasn't about talent anymore. It was about who could survive one last emotional hit without making a mistake. And then Abu Dhabi happened. The finale didn't start with controversy. It started with pure tension. Max on pole, Hamilton right behind. Two different strategies, two different worlds. And the entire sport held its breath. Then Hamilton got ahead, controlled the pace. Looked like he was about to do what legends do, manage the race, suffocate the pressure, and win an 8th title. And with every lap, the fear grew for Red Bull. Because the nightmare wasn't just losing. The nightmare was losing after thinking you finally had the chance to win. Let that sink in. Red Bull weren't just fighting for a championship. They were fighting for relevance. Now here comes the moment the entire sport still can't agree on. Late in the race, Nicholas Latifi crashed. Safety car comes out. And suddenly, the championship stops being a driving contest and becomes a rulebook chess match. Here's where it gets insane. Hamilton stays out on worn hard tyres. Verstappen pits for fresh soft tyres. That single decision created a brutal truth. If this race restarts for one lap, Max wins. If it ends behind the safety car, Hamilton wins. That's it. That's the whole title. Two different endings, one decision, one moment. And then the sport made the call. The lapped cars were allowed to unlap, but not all of them, and the safety car came in for the final lap, setting up the one-lap shootout that decided the championship. Read that again. One lap. The most expensive sport on earth, a full season, decided by a one-lap sprint. Be honest, was that genius or desperation? Because in that final lap, Max didn't drive like a man chasing a title. He drove like a man chasing a moment. Fresh tyres, no fear, no hesitation. One chance. He sent it. And yes, Hamilton fought. But the tyres were dead. The advantage was too brutal. The gap was too perfect. The timing was too cinematic. Max passed him. And just like that, the world changed. But here's the part most fans still miss. Max's first title wasn't just about passing Hamilton. It was about what happened after. Because F1 didn't move on cleanly. It fractured. And the aftermath proved it. The FIA's handling of Abu Dhabi became so controversial that Michael Massey was removed as race director, and the FIA introduced structural changes, including limiting team radio influence and bringing in systems to improve race control processes. That's not normal. That's not oops. That's an entire governing body quietly admitting, we can't let this happen again. So when people say Max's first title changed F1 forever, they're not being dramatic. It literally forced the sport to reform itself. Now here's the cliffhanger. If the sport had to change its structure after Max won, what does that say about how powerful that moment really was? Because that title didn't just crown a champion, it created a new kind of Formula One. A Formula One where teams realized politics matter as much as pace. A Formula One where pressure tactics became part of the strategy. A Formula One where fans split into tribes so hard that even today you can mention Abu Dhabi 2021 and start a war in the comments in 3 seconds. So here's your debate question. Was Max's first title the greatest ending in F1 history? Or the most damaging? Drop your take, because if you don't, you're basically letting the loudest people decide the story for you. Now, we have to talk about what Max's first title did to him. Because after 2021, Verstappen didn't become confident. He became dangerous. Because once a driver wins the hardest title of his life, they stop asking permission. They stop waiting for the perfect car. They start acting like destiny owes them something. And that's when dominance begins. And yes, people will argue forever about the ending. But here's the reality. Max put himself in position all season. He matched Hamilton blow for blow. He survived the mental warfare. He survived the collisions, the penalties, the heartbreaks. And when the sport gave him a final opportunity, he didn't hesitate. That's what champions do. Now, I promised you something in the first 2 minutes, and I'm keeping it. If you want to know exactly how Max won his second title and how he went from controversial champion to unstoppable machine, subscribe, because this is a series you don't want to miss. Smart fans, subscribe. Because the second title wasn't a repeat, it was a takeover. Now back to the bigger point. Max's first title didn't just change his career. It changed how teams build cars. It changed how drivers defend. It changed how the FIA governs races. And it changed how fans consume Formula One. Before 2021, dominance was predictable. After 2021, every title fight started feeling like a courtroom case waiting to happen. And that is the real legacy. The moment F1 changed forever wasn't only the overtake, it was the moment everyone realized this sport is no longer just engineering versus engineering. It's pressure versus pressure, power versus power. And Max Verstappen? He became the face of that new era. Here's another pattern interrupt. Imagine being a rookie in 2022, watching that final lap. You're not thinking, I want to race. You're thinking, I'm entering a sport where one lap can change history, and the world will scream about it for years. That's what Max's title did. It raised the emotional stakes of Formula One permanently. So when people ask, how did Max win his first championship? The answer isn't one sentence. It's this. He won it by forcing Formula One to become uncomfortable, and then thriving in that discomfort. He won it by refusing to play safe. He won it by surviving the most pressured season in modern F1. And he won it because when the moment arrived, he didn't blink. Now, final question. Who do you think was more responsible for that championship? Max's driving, Red Bull's strategy, or the sport's chaos? Pick one in the comments. No fence sitting. Because if you can't decide, that means the story still has power. And as we close this, understand the consequences. That championship wasn't the end of the Hamilton era. It was the start of the Verstappen era. And the scariest part? Max didn't win 2021 as the finished product. He won it as the beginning. Stay sharp. Subscribe. And if you want the next piece of this story, how Max won his second title and turned 2021's chaos into a blueprint for dominance, click the next video on my channel. Because once you see how he evolved after that first championship, you'll realize 2021 wasn't the miracle. It was the warning.